Hello, this is Nancy Reynolds, Stampin' with Nutsy, and I just wanted to thank my group of friends who invited me to join them in this video hop. I am so excited to be part of all this craftiness, and that being said, I will put us down to my worktop, which right at this moment is totally clean and blank. It's so nice. It won't be for long. It's okay. I want to show you what we're going to make. I have three samples actually. It's just a little different. I've used different designer series paper, although it all comes from the same suite. Little different colors on my leaves. And this is the last one I did. I made a mistake and I didn't put the designer series paper over it. And I really like it best. So that's what we're going to do today, but I'll give you the measurements. So we've got a regular side and a specialty paper side of this designer series paper, which I just love. So let's take and stack these up, put them aside, and get started with our card base. Now, you'll notice this is a spanner card. And basically a spanner card just means that something spans the distance from top to bottom, and the bottom isn't really attached to the card base. Although at one time it was. And I'll show you what I did. Now, here we are. This is a piece of designer series paper. No, it's not. It's a piece of cardstock. And this happens to be Early Espresso. Take my notes off because I have to have cheat sheets, you know. So it's 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches, which is 10.5 by 29.7 centimeters. I scored it at 5.5 inches, which is 14.8 centimeters. So basically that's in half. This is a half sheet of a cardstock at the long way, or the hot dog way, as some people might call it, and scored direct in half. And then I took it to my trimmer. See how nicely that all fits together? And I measured 4 inches and I sliced it off. So here we have our cardstock is now 4 1/4 inches by 7 inches, which is 10.5 by 19 centimeters. And I'm just going to take on that score line, fold it over, and burnish it so I can show you how this all fits together. I took my 4 by 4 1/4 inch piece, keeping it in line the way I cut it off, and I cut it 2.5 inches, yes. So I have a 2.5 inch by 4 and a 1.5 by 4. And let me just double check those measurements. So the 2.5 by 4 1/4 is the 5.5 by 10.5 centimeters. The 1.5 is 4.1 centimeters by 10.5 centimeters. And the reason it's a little smaller, it's not a normal conversion, is when I did this with metric sized cardstock, this piece was too big. You'll notice there's quite a bit of space on each side, and that brought it over so it was over here. And I just didn't like that. So I adjusted the measurements. So you're going to waste a little bit of cardstock, but not very much. Now this is how it's going to go together. This piece is going to be the bottom, and my spanner is, or focal point is this piece, is the bigger of the two pieces. So there we are. That was my thinking, and that's why the measurements are just a bit off. Let me show you what we're going to use to do this. We are going to use the Stamp Set Autumn Leaves, which I absolutely love. It's part of a bundle or part of a suite, however you wanted to buy it. It's in the mini that starts September 6th, So this will have started and gone live by the time you see the video. However, it is not live right now while I'm filming, so I can't really show it to you. But this suite is on pages 42 through 43, with a little carryover on page 44. So that is our set. I am using the Designer Series paper that comes with the suite, and this is all about autumn. And this is one of those wonderful Designer Series papers that it's a photo that they've taken and then made Designer Series paper out of. Now, that is special in itself, but if you turn it over, it's Specialty Designer Series paper. So there's lots of pretty colors, and I've tried to use a sample of them in the designs I've made, in the sample cards I've made. So that will be very fun. I will actually lay them out so you can kind of see all three. I know that that's not quite, but I need a little room to work. So actually, I'm going to just put them up in one corner, and I'll put all 4 cards out at the end so you can see them all. Alrighty, let's get started. Oh, there's one other thing I'm using. There's another paper that's in the suite, and I lost my little, nope, I did not lose it. I just put it aside. It's oxidized copper, Specialty Designer Series paper. And this one's copper, and there's also a pretty peacock, which is lovely. The suite comes with, it has a combo pack of ribbon. So this is the natural, and this is copper. I'm using the copper. And what I do, because I can never remember what goes together on my shelf, so I label them with what they are and the number, product number. But I chose to use the copper because it goes with our card today. Also, the natural is really pretty, but it's really too thick for me to tie. So I use it under a sentiment. Now, let's get started. Let's build our focal piece. So I have my base that I cut off. I have a piece of the pretty peacock Designer Series specialty paper out of the pack that I showed you, the autumn, what's it called again? All About Autumn Designer Series paper. This will go on here. It is 2 3/8 inches by 4 1/8 inches, or 5.2 by 10.2 centimeters. And I decided to use the one with books. And it's 2 1/4 by 4 inches, or 4.9 by 9.9 centimeters. So let's do just a little bit of assembly here. Here it is. I knew I had it. My goodness. Some days, things just disappear off my desk. So while it looks really organized and clean right in the middle here that you're seeing, around the edges it's not so. I wish it was. It's not bad. It will be worse. I kind of like to turn this sideways so I get a little bit more perspective. So there we are. And then we'll put the Designer Series paper on it. I want you to know that it hurts to cover up this beautiful specialty paper. But I thought that the books would look nice with this. And you're not going to see a lot of it, just a little bit of sparkle around the edge. So this is finished. Let's build up. Well, actually, we're not going to build up. We're just going to use the Designer Series specialty paper because I decided it was a shame, truly a shame, to cover it over. So here's our bottom piece. And here's our top piece. Now, if you were going to put designer series paper over this. Maybe you're not using one that you like as much as I like this shiny paper. Then you might want to cut the designer series paper like I did on this card. You'd cut 2 of them, 1 1/4 inches by 4 inches or 3.5 by 9.9 centimeters. Okay, moving my cheat sheets. Here we have the top and the bottom. Here in Bellingham, Washington, in the United States, where I live, it is a most beautiful day out. There is sunshine, although you can tell it's fall or getting to be fall because it's much cooler than it has been. So it's in the 60s yesterday and today, and last night we had quite a little rainstorm. As a matter of fact, I decided that I could skip recycling this morning, even though it's a holiday, garbage is picked up, because I didn't want to go out in the rain. I did get my garbage out, and the recycling will just wait another week. Line up the bottom. Put your top on. You could do it to the side, in the middle, towards the left, right side, whatever you like. I think I'm going back to the middle for this one. And I'm going to put that on. The one nice thing about designer series paper with a pattern is it's a little easier, for the most part, to get it straight. I'm not going to put this on quite yet. I want to just tap it so I know it's lined up before I take and anchor the bottom. It's close to straight. Maybe not quite straight. So maybe I'll do that again. Even with the Seal Plus, which is what I'm using, you have a moment to take it off. So let's line this up with my grid and see if I can get that a little straighter. Do my little tap, tap, tap. I don't know that really worked. Let me just do this. That looks better. Then we'll tap, tap, tap. Make sure that is lined. And bring it down. And there's our spanner card. Now what we need to do is we need to do a little decorating. So let's first do our inside. I'm going to take Early Espresso and one of the stamps from the set. And this one says, I'm thankful. And that was a cat hair right there. I thought I got all of those cleaned off. So there we are. Since these are photopolymer stamps, it's a good idea to stamp on, say, your Stampin' Pierce mat. But it was just one little line, so I thought it'd be okay. And I think it's fine. So, also my mat is, the grid paper has a little piece of paper under, or cardboard under it, and it's been laminated with a matte finish. I have to remember that when I'm using Seal Plus, it doesn't take pressure at all. And if you put pressure on it, it's not happy. Oh, there's a little bit right there. Now, what I did was I already stamped on copper clay paper, cardstock, I stamped with copper clay ink. So we have a leaf, and with that lovely oxidized copper, I cut out the details. There's a detail die in the stamp set. Now, if you're really thinking about it, This is one of those things that would be really nice if you put a piece of our adhesive sheet on the back of it before you cut it out, so that you just turn it into a sticker and it peels off and it's all nice and everything's good. I did not. So I am using my Tombow glue, and on the back I am just going to try and just dot lightly in several places. Did you know that you can make glue dots with Tombow glue? You just put it down on like this. You can do different sizes. And when that all dries, it's a sticky little glue dot because Tombow dries tacky. So if you're thinking ahead and you want to do something like this, you could call these glue dots and let them dry before you put them on the card. I am not that patient, nor did I think that far ahead. So we're just going to put them on here. My sentiment's going to catch in the bottom, so I'm not going to worry about, I don't want to get that in the glue. Although I guess on the bottom, the back, it doesn't matter. And we'll just press this down. I do have a little bit of seepage there, but it's not bad. And Tombow does dry clear, so that won't be seen. And a little tip, if it's tacky and things are sticking to it, take your embossing buddy, which is this little talc-filled pouch that comes in the embossing kit, and then you can just kind of tap on it and wipe off any extra, and you won't have anything that's sticky. Let's see. Let's turn him over and grab my dimensionals, because I think this needs to be raised. We need dimension on our card. Now notice that the very end might hang over on one side or a little bit on both. So you don't want to go clear to the end with your dimensionals. Just out of the way before I get glue on somewhere I don't want it. And put my leaf in the middle. So there we are. See how that bling and shine? I just absolutely love it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp with heartfelt gratitude on a piece of white. That is our basic white. And you could use Fairy Vanilla with this card. That would be certainly be appropriate and a good color to use. I just had a lot of white, so I thought I'd just use that. All right, here's my Stampin' Cut and Emboss. I want to show you how I do my layers. Instead of using layer 1, I use layer 3. It always goes through easily. So I start with 3, and it cuts beautifully. It's just a little tiny bit thinner. So there's layer 2. Always cut into the icky one, because you want the top to stay clean. So then well, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. So when the one I'm using to cut into is no longer usable, this becomes the bottom, and I get a clean one out. It just makes everything last a little bit longer. So the die also comes in. I think my camera has fallen. I don't know why. Let's see if I can get it up a little bit. It's just going to take a little bit of maneuvering here. That was kind of weird. I looked up and there it was. I must not have everything tightened down properly. I apologize for this. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay, let's get this down like this. This is better. Tighten that up a little bit. Pull this stand up. There. That, we can make this work. So here I am arranging my die over the sentiment and using just a little bit of old washi tape I have around. You can use this over and over and over again just to hold that die in place. I'll put my second, the top cutting pad number 2 on, and see how nicely that just goes through? And there we have it. I'll set that on the floor. And carefully take this off. Even though it's been used quite a lot, it's still got some stick to it. Once it no longer has any stick, then I will take it and replace it. And then I have this little magnetic bowl to keep some of my odds and ends and my dies in, which is really nice. It is made on a laser printer. Okay, back to the card. We have our sentiment now. I'm also going to raise this, but I am just going to do it on the ends. Do you find those little backings all over the place? I know I do. So I try to put them in the garbage. Here we are. Two more things for our card. Well, 3 more things if you count the envelope. I have a cat that thinks glue dots are the most wonderful thing in the world. And she jumps up and she steals things, and I can't find my roll of glue dots. But I can find my paper pumpkin glue dots. She can't get these. I have them in a plastic bag. It's wonderful. So I'm going to hook my bow to the card with glue dots, and I'm going to do 2 because there's a little difference in height, and I found the bows weren't staying as well as they should. So there's my bow. And there are gems that come with this suite, but I really like the the adhesive backed sparkle gems, and so I am using those. They've got the really pretty I'm going to call them champagne. I don't think they're really a champagne color, but that's what they make me think of. So here we are. Our card is done. We have a pretty card on the outside, a pretty card on the inside, and so we need a pretty envelope. So what I like to do is, again, pull in my silicone mat because glue doesn't stick to it. So I can make a mess. Or if I make a mess, it's not such a big deal. And I take my Tombow glue and I make sure that there's a good amount. Not so much that it's going to gush all over, but I want this piece well adhered because it is not good to make the Postal Service angry with you because you mess up their machines. Although I do put hand cancel stamps on it, it doesn't mean that it always gets hand canceled. Lining this up with the fold. I'll bring this down from those little glue dots I was making. And here we are. Give it a little massage. And then you just take your snips and use your flap as your pattern. And here you go, turn the corner. And there we have a pretty envelope flap. Now sometimes I take this and I just kind of finish rounding up just the hand, those sides. I cut my piece at about 2.5 inches because it does pretty well. This is the larger side, so I think, try and center that a little bit. Here we are. And I'm going to do the very same. Just put glue not too much of the Tombow, but enough. And spread it out a little bit. And then line up one edge, and I think I decided I want to line that edge up. Give it a little massage down. And cut off your end. Oh, that's one reason you use Tombow, is it gives you just a little bit of room to adjust. That one was down a little low on that side. Cut off the end. Now you've got a, let's see, let's move this out of the way. You have a pretty card. A pretty, oh, I didn't get that stuck down very well, did I? Pretty card, pretty envelope. So this is the one we made today. I made this one earlier today, and that is why I left the Designer Series paper off, because this one, these two that I made a few days ago, have the Designer Series paper covering all that beautiful design, the specialty paper. And I like the specialty paper. So I hope you've enjoyed my project and that you'll give it a try. And until I see you again, happy crafting!